So, good afternoon, everyone. So, in the last class, just we have seen, okay, how to write a package, right? So, as in the last class, we have seen a simple example. Just I'll go back and, okay, take the example. Okay. So, already we have seen one example in the last class. Say I'll open that. Okay. So this is a simple example basically I wrote in the last class. So this is how basically you define a package. Package is a keyword and you have to give some name to the package. Whenever you're giving a name to the package, it should be universally distinct. So since it has to be universally distinct, usually we'll take the domain names of the internet, since the domain names of the internet will be universally distinct with one another. So that's what we do is we take the domain names and write those names in the reverse order so that there will not be a conflict from one to another. So this what we have seen. So package is the keyword that we need to use, and you need to give a name to a package and with a semicolon. And because what already we have seen what basically a package is. A package contains a group of classes and interfaces which are related to one another. A set of classes or a set of interfaces which are related to one another will be grouped into a single unit, and this single unit can be called as a package. That's what we have seen, right? Now what I want to do here is this particular entire class, whatever I've written, whose name is pack, that class I want to make it to be as part of this package in.ac.bmsit. So now after writing a class which is part of your package, we also have seen how to execute this particular one, right? So how do you execute? Okay, Java C. So since whatever the dot class file that gets generated, the dot class file should get stored under the hierarchy whatever I have given for the name of the package. So -d I should give, indicating that directly it should the dot class file should get stored in the hierarchy of the package name whatever I have given, and where that should be available in the current working directory. Dot indicates current working directory, and now I am supposed to give the name of the class, that is pack is the class dot java. Okay, so this is how basically we compile our program. So now how do I run this particular program? Since there are no errors in my program, we have seen like how do we compile a program. So we compile a program, say Java, okay, and we need to use the that fully qualified name, that is in dot ac dot, okay, bmsit. This was a package name dot, because my dot class file, whatever pack dot class file that's generated, it's present under this particular hierarchy, so I should give the name of the class file name. Okay, see hello. So the basically hello was the output basically we are expecting. So now this class pack whatever you have written has become part of this particular package. And where is your package present? Your package is present under your current working directory. So in the last class, this is what basically we have seen, correct? So till here we have seen how to write a class which has to be a part of a package. Yes or no? How to write a class that has to be part of a package. And similarly we have seen how to compile that particular program and how do we run that particular program. That's what basically we have seen. Now basically I want to illustrate something else here. So what is that something else I wanted to discuss is I was telling you that, okay, current working, which is my current working directory where I'm storing all my Java programs is. So it is there under G drive. Under that I have a collection folder, and basics is the folder where my program is stored, where I have stored. Now under that I have created a package name AC, say in bmsit.ac.in, right? In dot. So now where is my in folder? So I go to in folder. In folder, I have a AC folder. In AC folder, I have BMSIT. See, inside my BMSIT, I have this pack.class. So this is an assurance I can make that whatever my pack class I have written, which is part of this particular package, and dot class file is being created here. Dot class file is being created. This is how I can ensure. See, in is there. Under that, I have AC is there. Under that, BMSIT. Under BMSIT, this pack class is being created. Okay. So now, basically, I want to show you, illustrate one more concept. Okay, one more concept. What is that? Basically the concept which I want to illustrate. Okay, so let me go, not this, let me go for my notepad. Where is my notepad? Okay. So now I want to illustrate one thing. I want to illustrate one thing with the same example. For example, say in.ac.bmsit is there. Now, can I write one more package? Say for example, package. Okay, package. I want to include one more package. Let me tell pack one. Actually, this is a very simple one to illustrate I am using. Actually, I'm supposed to use the internet domain names in the reverse order so that it will be unique. Okay, simplified one, I'm simply using a pack one. Now I'm going to save this particular program, I'm going to run the same. You can see here. I'll run the same program. Okay. So I'll run the same program, say Java C, okay, -d. Okay. Same thing, that is pack.java, because it's the same program, right? So I'm going to do this. See now, we are getting an error. See, read this error properly. What is it showing? It is telling error. What is the error? Class interface or enum expected. It is telling class interface or enum expected. Where is it showing the error? It is showing the error in package pack one, whatever I've written. So this package pack one is the second line of your program. And it is telling one error. So what does it mean is, in a program, whenever you're writing a program, you cannot write two packages in the same program. So in my program, whatever I have here, basically here in this one, I have two packages. First package is in.ac.bmsit, second one is pack1. So it is accepting the first one, and the second one, it is showing me the error. So what is that we can generalize from this particular program is, in a program, whenever we write a program, our program should contain at least, or basically I can tell our program can contain at least 0 or 1 package statement only at max. Our program can contain 0 or 1 package statement, not more than that. If it is, say for example, I'll delete the first one. Okay, I'll delete this particular first one. So now I'll save my program, Control S. Now I'm going to go here. I'm going to execute my program. Let me see if it is going to execute. Okay, so let me see if it is going to execute. See, no compilation error. Now it is perfectly executing, because how many package statement we have? Only one package statement. So this is the conclusion basically we can draw from this example. So now another example also basically I want to show you. What is that other example? Say for example, okay, I'm going to import some statements. Say for example, import. Okay, simplest one, I'm going to import java.lang. Okay, dot star, end with a semicolon. Okay, save this particular program. Now what I'll do is, I'll go back here. I'll try to execute the same program. Okay, I'll try to execute the same program. See here. Again, now you're getting an error. So again, you read the error. What is that error basically you're getting is, class interface or enum expected. Where is the error it is showing you? It is telling package p1. Now the question is, why is the error in this program Just I'll show you. Once again, I'll show you why is that error. How do we rectify this particular problem? Okay, so I'll just cut this, put this as a first statement. Okay, save this, and again I'll go back here. Let us try to execute this. Okay, let us try to see. I'm not getting any errors. Correct? See here, see the output. I'm not getting any errors. So now what does it mean? So, or what is the conclusion we can draw from this particular program? Anybody? Can you tell me what's the conclusion basically we can draw from this particular program? So the conclusion that you can draw from the program is, whenever we write any Java program, suppose in your Java program, if you want to include both package and import statement, the order in which you write these statements are important. So as a first statement, the first statement should always be the package statement, followed by the import statement. So that's a basic conclusion we can draw from these two examples. Okay, so in any program, you cannot have two package statements in a program. That's the first conclusion that we have drawn from the example. And from this example, the order of the statements are very important. Means the first statement always should be a package statement, as you can see in this particular program. And the second statement is nothing but an import statement. If you try to interchange, then definitely we are going to get the compilation type error. So that's what is about your package statement. Okay, that's what about your package statements we have. Okay, so now here you can see that. Here you can see that. Okay, the same thing, whatever I told you. Okay, see here. Basically, if you write a program something like this, see here, where I have written import statement first and package statement is, when you compile your program, basically we got an compilation error. So as I told you that in any Java source file, the first non-comment statement should always be the package statement. So this order is very much important. So in the previous slide also you can see that the other example, if you try to include more than one package statement, you get you are going to get a compilation error pointing to the second package statement. So this is a basic conclusion we can draw from your package. So now coming to your next example is nothing but next example, not the example. Next concept is nothing but import statement. So in Java, import statement is one of the important concept what we have. Just we'll see how to write this particular import statement. Say for example, I'll write, say I'll just remove everything from this particular program. See, I'll remove everything from this particular program, delete. Here I'm going to modify something like this. Okay, array, suppose, okay, scanner only, because all of you are familiar with your scanner statement. I want to use scanner statement in my program. Scanner, say s is equal to say for example new scanner. Okay, new scanner. Okay, so now the question is, okay, we know that scanner is nothing but a inbuilt Java class what we have. Okay, scanner yes is equal to new scanner. I have created an object for the scanner class. Scanner class is already predefined. Now I'll save this particular program. I'll save this particular program. Let us try to execute this. Okay, let us try to execute this. How do we execute? I'll use a simple thing because no package statement is there. Java C pack dot, okay, Java. Okay, see, you're getting an error here. You're getting an error telling that. What is that error it is telling? Cannot find symbol. Which symbol it's not able to find? Scanner. The statement, whatever you've written, no, scanner S is equal to new scanner, it is telling it's not able to find this symbol. That's what it's clearly given. See, which symbol? Class scanner. Scanner is a class, right? It's not able to find this scanner. So where is that, where you have used that scanner class? You have used in PAK class. Okay, clearly it is indicating, telling that it is not able to find this scanner. Yes or no? So now what do you do? What do you do? Since you're getting this error, what should you do in order to fix this particular problem? To fix this particular problem, what you have to do is, you need to tell your compiler is not able to understand where is this particular scan, because scanner is a class which you have not written. So it's already defined in case of your Java itself. If it is defined in your Java, then where is this available? That's a question, correct? Where is this available is a question. Now, almost all of you till now must be aware that where is your scanner class present? Your scanner class is present in java.util. See, one way you can, one way is nothing but, one way you can fix this particular problem is using a fully qualified name. What do you mean by fully qualified name? I can give like this. See, Java dot, say for example, util dot scanner. Here also wherever scanner is there, I can give Java dot util dot scanner. See, this is one way. Means this is a fully qualified name. Okay, fully qualified name. Wherever scanner is there, I've written, I'm telling that where is that scanner class is available. Scanner class is available under util package, and util is present under your Java package. Clearly, I'm telling, earlier it gave me an error message that telling that it was not able to find this symbol, which one? Scanner. It was not able to locate. Now I'm clearly telling to my compiler that yes, scanner is present under util, which is under Java. Clearly I'm specifying the location where the scanner is present. So I'm giving the information to my compiler. So let us save this. Let us save this and let us try to execute this particular program. Okay, let us try to execute this. Okay, see here. See here, what is that you're getting? What is that? Okay, a scanner, a readable by channel not applicable. Why is that? Because why is that error we are getting? We have not given what? System dot. You need to tell now from where you're going to read the input from. That is system dot in you're supposed to pass. Save this. Go back here. Run your program. Okay, run your program. Okay, now it is able to successfully compile your program. Means you have fixed your compilation time error. So how do you fix your compilation time error in this particular program? So you fixed by specifying the fully qualified name like this. Fully qualified name like this. Now the question is again I have something like, say for example, array list. Okay, it's an inbuilt class in Java. Array list, say a is equal to, okay, new array list. Okay, new array list. I have something like this. Now let me again compile this. Let me compile. Okay, let me compile this particular program. I'll go back here. Okay, same program. See here. Again I'm getting an error here in this program. Why it is telling? Again same problem. It is telling in your program you have used the array list class. Array list class user has not defined or user has not created, but it is telling that I am unable to find it. Your compiler is telling that I am unable to find where is this array list. Now you need to inform your compiler telling that where is exactly array list. The same problem only. So now again your array list is present under java.util class. So you can specify the fully qualified name java dot, actually array list is also present under util. So you're going to specify util. Here also you need to specify as java dot, okay, util dot. Okay, now save this particular program, execute once again. Okay, execute your program. See here what you're going to get. Yes, no compilation time error. So now the question is, say how did you resolve this particular error? So you have resolved the error using what? Using a fully qualified name. Using a fully qualified name you have resolved the error. Now what is the problem if you use this particular method? So what is the problem if you use this particular method is, each and every time whenever you are using any predefined class of Java, each and every time whenever you are using the predefined classes of Java, then you need to completely specify the name like this. You need to completely specify the name like this. Means here the readability of the program will be very, very much less. Suppose if you have such statement, many more such statements, many more inbuilt classes if you are using in your program, if you are using this method in order to solve the compilation time error by specifying the fully qualified name, then readability of the program will be reduced. Now the question is, what is the other alternative method, or do you have any other alternative method in order to write the same? Yes, we do have an alternative method. So what I can do is, I can remove this and I can specify that instead of specifying the fully qualified name, I can just only specify that using a import statement. Okay, what is alternative is import statement. Now I am going to write, say import, okay, what? Java dot, okay, Java dot util, okay, util dot, okay, scanner. Okay, and I can write, okay, import, okay, import, okay, say Java dot, okay, util dot, okay, array list. So how many times I'm writing here? See, for example, in your program, you can create any number of scanner objects, but how many times you are writing the import statement? Only once. Okay, suppose scanner object, if you are trying to create 10 times, if this statement you are trying to write 10 times in your program also, only once you are going to write the import statement. You can use that, you can create the object for your scanner class any number of times. Similarly, array list, only once I'm writing the import statement like this, I can make use of this particular array list any number of times in my program. So that's an advantage. So now again I'll save this particular file. Again I save this particular file. Let me go back here. Let me try to execute the same program. Okay, see here, No compilation time error. No compilation time error. Now the question here is, okay, so what is that we have understood till now? What is that we have understood till now from import statement? So when in case of your import statement, there are two ways you can represent you can solve the problem. One is nothing but by specifying the fully qualified name, and second one is nothing but by writing the same statement using an import statement. These are the two different ways in which you're going to resolve the conflicts. Okay, so that's what basically we have understood from these two examples. Okay, hope so these concepts are clear for all of you, right? So now if you go for the PPT, okay, if you go for the PPT, same thing is there in your PPT also. Say for example your the same program, see class PKI I have taken, where I've used a inbuilt class. So when I compile this particular program, usually I shown you we got an error. So how do you one way to fix an error is you can specify the fully qualified name here, where exactly your array list is present. I have specified completely where that array list is present so that my compiler can understand. Okay, so after that when I compile this, I'm not getting any error, correct? So now what is the problem if you fix the errors for this program in this using this by specifying the name using a fully qualified name is, okay, the readability of the program. If I had to write many more such statements in my program, so everywhere I need to write the fully qualified domain name, basically the readability of the program will be very, very less. What is the intention of me writing the program definitely gets changed, and everywhere I can see only the fully qualified names in the program. Okay, how do we overcome this particular drawback? So how do we fix this particular problem is, only once you write the import statement, and once you write the import statement, you can use the shortcut names wherever it is required. Okay, see, that's what basically we have done. That's what basically we have done here. See here, java.util.arraylist, only one statement I can write. I can use this shortcut name array list any number of times in the program wherever I want. Yes or no? So that's what is the advantage. Now you may be worrying, for example, if I show you this particular program, whatever we wrote, okay, some of you may be worrying like, okay, scanner and array list are present. Scanner and array list are present under util class only. Why ma'am has written two different import statement? Why can't it be written under the same statement? Suppose say this way of representing, suppose for each and every inbuilt Java class, if I am writing a separate import statement like this type of representation is basically called as explicit. Okay, so again the next concept which we'll be discussing is about types of import statements. Okay, types of import statements. There are basically two types of import statements. One is nothing but called as an explicit import statement, and the second one is nothing but called as an implicit import statement. What is explicit import statement? Example, say these are the examples of explicit import statement. So completely you will be specifying where is your scanner class, where is your scanner class. Completely you will be specifying where is your array class. It's very clear. It's very clear. I have a scanner. I'm creating a scanner object. Yes, I'm creating an array list object. A, yes or no. Now, if you see this import statement, it is very clear that your scanner is present in this particular class. Array list is also present in your util class. By seeing this, it's very clear. The compiler can clearly understand. Now, this way of representing the import statements completely till the end is nothing but called as an explicit import statement. Now, what is implicit import statement? So, as what you're expecting, just I'll delete this. Instead of specifying like this, say I'll write it as star. Means, now, what do you understand by this? Okay, whatever, because you know scanner is also a Java inbuilt class, array list is also a Java inbuilt class. Now both according to us should be present under util only. Star I have given. So star means it can be not only scanner and array list, it can be any number of things. Any number of things, correct? So now this way of representing the import statement is nothing but called as your implicit import statement. Okay, how many types of import statements you have? Two types. First one is an explicit import statement. Second one is nothing but called as an implicit import statement. Hope so you have understood with an examples what is explicit and implicit. Now the question is, as a programmer, which type of import statement is recommended? Okay, so the type of import statement that is recommended for the programmers to use is explicit import statement. Now you may be worrying like, why only explicit, why not implicit? Correct? Example, I'll give a scenario something like this. I'll give a scenario, say for example, something like this. What is that? For example, assume that I have something like this. Okay, what is that? I have some import statement. Let me tell, com dot something regarding the bank, HDFC dot star. Suppose something I have like this. Okay, now another import statement I have, say for example, import, say for example, com dot ICICI dot star. Okay, suppose if I'm using, I'll just delete both the things here. Okay, I have a class, say for example, account A is equal to something new account. If I have something like this, see here, if I have something like this. Now, what do you understand by account? Have we created this class? No. Definitely we understand that, okay, account should be an inbuilt Java class. Now, if I ask you a question, account comes from which import statement? Whether it is account is part of your HDFC or account is part of your ICI, which one you are supposed to deal with? There will be a confusion. Now I cannot clearly tell that account is under ICICI or account is under HDFC. It's very difficult for me to tell. Account comes from where? Which particular thing? Okay, for example, I'll write one more. Say for example, loan, suppose L is equal to, I'll create an object. Okay, suppose say I have something less. What do we understand? Loan is an inbuilt class. This inbuilt class is present in where? In which import statement? Whether HDFC or ICICI? Can anybody tell? No. So that's the reason when you write the import statement implicit in an implicit way like this, it is a confusion. Now somebody may be asking, ma'am, explicitly if you're using, how should we use? The same thing. Suppose say account, if it is belonging to this, see, I can write clearly here like this, account. And loan, if it is belonging to this, I'm going to write it as loan, right? Yes, loan. Now, if anybody, no need to ask directly. If you see import statement, you can tell that, okay, loan is a class present under ICICI. Okay, it's very clear. Account is a class present under HDFC. It's very clear. That's the reason. That's the reason it is recommended. It is recommended for the programmers or who are going to write the program in order to follow the implicit import statements. Okay, using the implicit concept of the import statement. Even in case of your IDEs, for example, Eclipse is one of the IDE in Java, right? So even in case of your Eclipse also, we are not going to write it, but still automatically these import statements will be automatically be inserted into the program. So what type of import statements will be that is we are going to get inside the program is nothing but explicit import statements only. Almost all IDEs will be using. Clear for all of you? Clear for all of you? How many types of import statements are there? We have two types of import statement, implicit and explicit. So implicit means completely we'll be specifying like this. Explicit means we'll be specifying star. Okay, hope so you have understood what are those two. Okay, implicit and explicit import statement. Clear for all of you? Hope so it's clear. Coming to the next concept. In case of your Java, there are two types of packages which we need not import, but still we can write a program. For example, I delete everything. I'll keep this. Okay. For example, string. All of you are aware of string class, right? String is an inbuilt class. Say string s is equal to, I'll write it as, say, new string. Okay, I have a thread is an inbuilt class in Java. T is equal to, okay, I'll write new thread. Yes. Okay, what is string? It's an inbuilt class. What is thread? It's an inbuilt class in Java. In the previous example, we have seen that if it's an inbuilt class, I need to specify where these classes are there. Using a fully qualified name, I need to specify, or using an import statement. Now you see, I don't write both the things. Either the fully qualified name I have not written, or nor I have written the import statement. I'll just save this particular program. Okay, I'll save this particular program, go back here, I'll run this particular program. See here, you're not getting any compilation time error. Why is that? Why is that? Only for few classes like string and thread, you're not getting a compilation time error. But in the previous programs, whatever we have seen, where we have used your scanner class, where we have used array list, we got a compilation time error. So how did we fix that compilation time error? Either by writing the fully qualified name or by writing the import statement, we have fixed that particular problem. But in this case, we are not getting. So why is that? Why is that is because okay, your string and thread classes are part of your java.lang. Okay, java.lang. Whichever the classes that are part of your java.lang, okay, package, whichever the classes which are part of your java.lang, I need not import by default. Whenever I compile my program, java.lang package by default will be applicable to my program. By default it is applicable. I need not explicitly write that import statement. By default, that java.lang package will be applicable to my program. That is where I am not getting an error telling that string or thread not found. Like in the earlier example, we got this error, but now we are not getting this error. Clear for all of you? So which is the package that will be by default included? We need not explicitly write in a program, java.lang package. Okay, so this is one thing. The other one is for example say, okay, just I'll show you this so that you can clearly understand here. Okay, I'll go back to a PPTs. Types of import statement. Hope so all of you have understood. Two types, explicit and implicit import statements we have. The good programming practice, which one to use? I told explicit import statement is preferred, where readability of the code will be improved. Almost all IDEs in Java basically makes use of explicit import statement. Now, the next one which I told is classes and interface. Basically, I told java.lang package because by default it's available to all programs. So that's what with the help of a program I shown you. See, like class like string, your thread, exception, string buffer, all these inbuilt classes are part of your java.lang. So java.lang, a programmer need not explicitly write this particular import statement. By default, it is available to the program. Java.lang is by default available to all the programs. So I need not write that. That's the reason my program is not giving me any error. So the next one which I told you was, the second point which I want to discuss here is, suppose if a class or a package is present in the current directory. Suppose say in the first program, whatever we have seen in case of a package, PAK was a class which we have already defined. Where is it present? It is present under the directory hierarchy. Correct? Directory hierarchy. Now the question is, can I create another class? My another class, can it make use of that previously defined class? Definitely yes. Okay, that's what basically we need to understand. If any class or package which are part of a current working directory, so okay, we can directly access those classes and packages which are part of your current working directory. So now to illustrate that, I have basically two things. This is a class stud already I have, which is stored in the same current working directory. Now I am creating another class. Okay, I am trying to access that class. So let me try to illustrate this. Okay, let me try to illustrate this. Let me go back here. Let me go here. Already I have a class stored. Okay, let me try to open this. What's the name of the class? Stud. Okay, see, this is a class I have. This is a one class already I have. Simply I've written hello statement. Inside that class I have one method. Where is this class present? Under the same directory, the called as basics. Now I have written another class. Okay, another class, say for example I is another class. Where is I present? Again it's present in the same directory. See, I is another class. What I'm trying to do is, stud is nothing but another class. Both the classes, class I and class stud, are part of the same class. Now I'm trying to create an object for stud class. Where is stud class present? In the same directory. Okay, so I can have an access. See, I'm trying to create an object for that stud class. I'm trying to access m1. Just I'm going to execute this and show you. Okay, I'll execute this. Let me go back here. Java C. Okay, what's the name of the class? I.java. So in I, we are trying to access the student class. Yes, see here. And okay, Java, say hi. See, I'm getting allo. So allo was the thing that was written in the method M1, which was part of your STUD class. Yes or no? STDU class. So that's what basically it's been shown in this particular slide. Okay. See here, this is one separate class which is there in the same folder or which is there in the same directory. And this is another class I have created. I am trying to access this method M1 this by creating an object for the students. See here, this is separate class. Okay, I'm trying to create an object for this stud. S is equal to new stud. I'm trying to access this M1 using this particular object S1. See, I'm able to access it. So that's what basically we should understand that in the previous slide. Okay, so in the previous slide, what did I tell you? If any class or package present in the current working directory, to access the class, import statements are not required. That's what, see, no import statement is required. Okay, so that's all. What's the common conclusion you can draw from this is, if any class or package is part of your current working directory, then whenever you're creating a new class, your new class can directly access the class present under current working directory, or a new class can have an access to the package which is part of your current working directory. Clear for all of you these concepts? Hope so you have understood. Okay, if at all you have any doubts, please you can mail me or you can message me. Okay, hope so you have understood the concept. Okay, and we'll stop here. In the next class we'll discuss class level modifiers. Thank you everyone, and I request okay,